Why is it that so much of our frustration comes from trying to control things we never truly can? Think about the last time you tried to change someone's mind, fix a situation entirely out of your hands, or even force a desired outcome. Odds are it left you feeling drained, if not outright defeated. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Some things are up to us and some things are not." This simple truth carries immense power, yet it's something we often forget in the chaos of modern life. In this video, we're going to explore a transformative idea from Stoic thought, the difference between control and influence. By understanding where our power ends and where influence begins, we can let go of unnecessary frustration and focus on what truly matters, the result. A more balanced, resilient mindset that equips you to navigate life's challenges with clarity and composure. Let's dive in and uncover how this timeless wisdom can make a difference in your life. Not everything is up to us. It's a simple statement, but one that's surprisingly difficult to fully embrace. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies what's known as the dichotomy of control, a concept that encourages us to distinguish between what we can control and what we cannot. Epictetus, one of the most prominent Stoic philosophers, said it best: "Some things are up to us and some things are not." But what does this mean in practical terms? Let's break it down. Control refers to the things entirely within our power: our thoughts, our actions, our choices, and our attitudes. These are the aspects of life where we have complete authority. For example, you can choose how much effort you put into a task, how you respond to criticism, or whether you approach a challenge with patience or frustration. These decisions rest squarely in your hands. Influence, on the other hand, describes areas where we can play a role but don't have full command of the outcome. Take a workplace scenario. You might present a brilliant idea to your team, offer thoughtful feedback, or contribute to a group project with your best effort. While your actions shape the situation, you can't control how others will react, whether your idea will be accepted, or how the project ultimately turns out. Your influence is significant, but the final result isn't entirely yours to dictate. Understanding this distinction is liberating because it helps us direct our energy more wisely. Too often, we waste time and mental energy trying to control things that are simply out of our reach, things like other people's opinions, unexpected setbacks, or even the weather. Imagine standing in the middle of a rainstorm, furiously wishing the rain would stop. It's exhausting, isn't it? But what if instead you focused on what you can control, like grabbing an umbrella or finding shelter? The situation might not be ideal, but you've now shifted your energy towards something productive, something actionable. This is the essence of the Stoic mindset, focusing on our own actions and attitudes while accepting the natural uncertainty of the world around us. But let's make this even more relatable. Think about a relationship, whether it's with a partner, a friend, or a family member. You might want this person to see things your way or to change a behavior you find challenging. While you can express your feelings, offer support, and set boundaries, you cannot force someone to change. Their choices are theirs alone. The more you try to control someone else, the more frustration and strain you feel. Instead, shifting your focus to your own actions, how you communicate, how you respond, and what you're willing to tolerate, can lead to a healthier dynamic. In this way, you exert influence while respecting what's beyond your control. Now, here's something to think about. What's one thing in your own life that you might be trying to control, even though it's outside your power? Is there a situation, a relationship, or even a goal where you could step back and focus more on what's within your sphere of control? Reflecting on this distinction can bring a huge sense of relief and clarity. By letting go of the need to control what we can't, we allow ourselves to act more effectively within the areas we can influence, and that's where real empowerment lies. The dichotomy of control isn't just a lofty philosophical idea, it's an incredibly practical tool for achieving serenity and resilience in daily life. At its core, it teaches us to sort the aspects of our lives into two categories: things we can control and things we cannot. This simple act of categorization gives us clarity. It allows us to stop expending emotional and mental energy on battles we're destined to lose and instead focus fully on what we can change. The result, a calmer, more centered state of mind. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's great Stoic thinkers, lived and breathed this principle. Despite being the emperor of Rome, a position of immense power, Marcus constantly reminded himself to focus on his own will and perceptions, rather than trying to control the external world. After all, even an emperor couldn't force events to unfold exactly as he wished. His private writings, collected in *Meditations*, repeatedly emphasize this truth. For Marcus, true strength came from mastering his inner world, shaping his thoughts, attitudes, and actions while accepting the unpredictability of the external world around him. Let's ground this concept in a real-life scenario. Imagine you receive harsh criticism at work. Your first instinct might be to feel defensive or perhaps even fight back. Why? Because deep down, many of us have this desire to control how others view us. But here's the Stoic perspective. You cannot control someone else's opinion or what they choose to say. That lies entirely outside your sphere of control. What is in your control is how you interpret the feedback and how you respond. Do you dismiss it out of hand, or do you take a step back and reflect? Is there a grain of truth in their words that you can learn from? By focusing on your perception and your actions, you turn a potentially frustrating moment into an opportunity for growth. Another example might be dealing with unexpected challenges. Say, you're stuck in traffic on your way to an important event. The Stoic response is to acknowledge that the traffic itself is not within your power. Sitting there, getting angrier with every passing minute won't change a thing. What you can control, however, is how you deal with the situation. Maybe you use the time to practice mindfulness, listen to a podcast, or simply accept that this was beyond your influence and let it go. By choosing to focus on your attitude rather than the external problem, you preserve your peace of mind. Understanding the dichotomy of control allows Stoics to direct their energy where it truly matters. Instead of wearing ourselves out trying to bend the world to our will, we can concentrate on taking meaningful actions within our sphere of influence. Think of it like playing a game. If you focus on the moves you can make, you're much more effective than if you waste energy worrying about the unpredictable roll of the dice. So, here's a question for you to reflect on. Can you think of a time when you found yourself caught up trying to control something you couldn't? Maybe it was a coworker's behavior, an outcome you desperately wanted, or even the weather ruining your plans. How much energy did you spend fighting against reality? And what might have changed if you had instead focused on your own response or attitude? When you embrace the dichotomy of control, you give yourself the gift of clarity. You stop spinning your wheels on the impossible and start channeling your efforts into what you can impact. That's how you build not just serenity, but also resilience, the ability to face life's challenges with strength and purpose. And honestly, isn't that something we all could use more of? While Stoicism teaches us to let go of what's beyond our control, it also emphasizes the tremendous power and responsibility we hold within our sphere of influence. Influence in the Stoic sense isn't about manipulating outcomes or forcing specific results. It's about acting with integrity, effort, and intention in the areas where our actions can make a difference. The goal is not to guarantee success, but to ensure that our conduct aligns with our values regardless of the outcome. Marcus Aurelius in *Meditations* reminds us, waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. B1. This simple yet profound statement captures the essence of how Stoics view influence. It's not about convincing the world, but about embodying virtue through your own actions. By focusing on how we conduct ourselves in the face of challenges and uncertainty, we strengthen our character and often inspire others in the process. Let's consider this idea in the context of a moral dilemma or a societal challenge. Imagine you're part of a community project aimed at reducing food waste. You're passionate about the cause and you dedicate your time to raising awareness, organizing events, and gathering volunteers. But along the way, you encounter setbacks. People are slow to show up, your message doesn't generate the impact you'd hoped for, and progress feels frustratingly slow. In moments like these, it's easy to get caught up in the results or lack thereof, and feel like your efforts are in vain. From a Stoic perspective, however, your responsibility lies not in guaranteeing the project's success, but in committing yourself fully to the work with honesty and virtue. The Stoics believe that the ethical responsibility of influence is not measured by the outcome, but by the integrity of the effort. Seneca echoes this idea when he writes, "Virtue is nothing else than right reason." In this case, acting with virtue means doing the right thing, giving your best effort, treating others respectfully, and staying true to your principles regardless of whether the project achieves its external goals. This mindset helps you reframe challenges in a way that fosters resilience. Instead of viewing setbacks as failures, you see them as opportunities to reaffirm your commitment to what you believe in. And often, this approach leads to unexpected forms of impact. Perhaps you inspire just one other person to take action, or you plant the seeds for change that will grow over time. While the visible results might not align with your initial hopes, your influence still matters. Now, let's bring this closer to home. Think about your own life, your relationships, your workplace, your community. What are the areas where you hold influence? Maybe it's setting the tone for your family, being a role model for colleagues, or contributing to a cause you care about. With that influence comes an ethical responsibility to act in a way that aligns with your values, to remain committed to effort over outcomes, and to ensure that your actions reflect integrity. So, here's something to reflect on. Where in your life are you focusing too much on the results and not enough on the virtue of your actions? Are there areas where you could shift your perspective, channeling your energy into doing the right thing regardless of how it's received? This shift can be transformative. By prioritizing effort and integrity, you free yourself from the weight of uncontrollable outcomes and step into a more grounded, purposeful way of living. And in doing so, you often influence others in ways that extend far beyond what's immediately visible. Let's face it, life throws curveballs at us all the time. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, you're late for an important meeting, the clock is ticking, and every honk or slow-moving car sends your stress levels skyrocketing. It's frustrating, isn't it? But here's the Stoic perspective. The traffic itself is beyond your control. What isn't, however, is how you choose to interpret and react to the situation. This is where the real power lies, not in changing the external event, but in managing your internal response. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, summed it up perfectly. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This idea challenges us to shift our focus from what's happening asterisk to asterisk us to how we choose to process and respond to it. Stoicism doesn't deny that emotions like frustration, anger, or sadness will arise. In fact, it acknowledges that these are natural human responses. But Stoics teach us that while we can't always prevent these feelings from surfacing, we do have the ability to control how we interpret and act on them. Let's take that traffic jam as an example. In the heat of the moment, it's easy to let anger take over. You might start fuming about how inconsiderate other drivers are, how unfair it is that this is happening, or how it's ruining your day. But what's really happening here, the event itself being caught in traffic, doesn't inherently contain frustration or anger. Those feelings come from the narrative you attach to the situation, the belief that it's unjust or that it shouldn't be happening. Stoicism encourages us to pause and challenge that narrative. What if instead you reframed the experience? You can't control the traffic, but you can use the time to listen to an insightful podcast, practice deep breathing, or simply accept the delay as something outside your power and let it go. By changing the way you view the situation, you shift your emotional response from one of frustration to one of acceptance, or even calm. This principle applies to far more than traffic jams. Think about a heated argument with someone close to you. Maybe something they said stings, and your immediate reaction is to lash out in anger or defensiveness. But what if you took a step back? What if you reminded yourself that you can't control their words or actions, but you can control how you interpret them and how you respond? Perhaps you choose to view their words as an opportunity to understand their perspective better, or even as a chance to practice patience and restraint. Instead of escalating the tension, this reframing allows you to approach the situation with clarity and purpose, staying true to your values rather than letting your emotions dictate your behavior. The Stoics believed that how we respond emotionally to life's pressures is ultimately a reflection of the stories we tell ourselves. By examining these stories and consciously reframing them, we can gain control over our reactions and, in turn, our emotional well-being. It's not about suppressing emotions or pretending they don't exist. It's about understanding that emotions are often the result of our judgments, and those judgments are within our power to change. Now, take a moment to reflect. How do you typically respond when life doesn't go your way? When someone cuts you off in traffic, when plans unravel, or when someone's words get under your skin? Do you let these events dictate your emotional state, or do you step back and choose how to respond? What might change if you began to view these moments as opportunities to exercise control over your mind, rather than as situations to control themselves? By practicing this mindset, you'll begin to notice a shift. Life's pressures won't weigh on you as heavily because you'll realize that your peace of mind doesn't come from external circumstances, it comes from within. And as Marcus Aurelius would remind us, that kind of strength is something no outside event can ever take away. Picture this: Epictetus, born into slavery in ancient Rome, suffered from a physical disability after years of mistreatment. By all accounts, his life seemed plagued by circumstances far beyond his control. Yet, rather than allowing himself to be overwhelmed by bitterness or despair, Epictetus embraced a philosophy that gave him immense inner strength. He famously taught that while he couldn't control his status as a slave or the pain he endured, he could control how he chose to view and respond to these hardships. His unwavering focus on his internal character, even in the face of adversity, allowed him to rise above his external circumstances and live a life of profound virtue and wisdom. This historical example perfectly illustrates how Stoicism empowers us to navigate situations completely outside our control. Whether it's misfortune, illness, loss, or events on a global scale, Stoicism doesn't promise to shield us from hardship. Instead, it offers us tools to handle the inevitable uncertainties of life with grace and resilience. One of these tools is the practice of radical acceptance. This doesn't mean passive resignation or pretending to be okay with things that hurt us. It's about acknowledging reality as it is, without wasting energy fighting against it. Imagine receiving news of an illness. It's an undeniably difficult moment, one that can fill you with frustration, fear, and a sense of injustice. But fighting the fact of the illness itself, wishing it away, or asking, "Why me?" only deepens the emotional turmoil. The Stoic approach encourages you to accept the situation for what it is and focus instead on what's within your power. How can you respond? What actions can you take that align with courage, wisdom, and self-care? Perhaps it's seeking the best treatment available, seeking support from loved ones, or simply striving to maintain a positive outlook as you face the challenge. This same framework applies to larger, uncontrollable forces like global events. Think of something like a sudden economic downturn or a natural disaster. These are the kinds of situations that, despite their massive impact, are completely out of our individual control. You can't stop the event itself, but you can choose how to respond. Do you panic? Do you let fear dominate your actions? Or do you focus on how you can contribute meaningfully, remain calm, and act in a way that supports those around you? The Stoics would remind us that even in the face of global uncertainty, we always retain the ability to act with integrity and composure. What ties all of this together is the importance of staying aligned with your own virtues, those inner qualities like courage, patience, compassion, and wisdom. While the world around you may feel chaotic and unpredictable, your values remain a steady anchor. Focusing on what kind of person you want to be, rather than obsessing over outcomes you can't control, gives you clarity and strength. For example, in a time of loss, you can't bring back what's gone, but you can choose how you honor their memory. You can focus on being a source of support for others going through the same pain. You can reflect on the love you shared and let it guide you to live more meaningfully. And here's where Stoicism becomes deeply personal. Think about how you currently react to events that are truly beyond your control. When setbacks or losses occur, do you find yourself consumed by frustration, anger, or helplessness? Or do you pause, reflect, and ask yourself, what's within my power right now? How can I respond in a way that reflects the best version of myself? This isn't an easy practice, but it's one that grows stronger with time and intentional effort. Epictetus reminds us that adversity itself is not the defining factor. It's how we meet that adversity that shapes the quality of our lives. By accepting what cannot be changed and focusing instead on the actions and virtues within our grasp, we cultivate a sense of peace and strength that no external event can take away. So, the next time life challenges you with the uncontrollable, ask yourself, what small but meaningful step can I take to remain aligned with my values, even in the face of uncertainty? So, how do we actually begin letting go of what we can't control and shift our energy toward what really matters? It's one thing to understand these Stoic ideas in theory, but putting them into practice requires effort and, most importantly, consistency. The good news is that Stoicism offers us practical exercises, tools you can use in everyday life to train your mind, reshape your perspective, and strengthen your ability to focus only on what's within your control. One of the most powerful techniques is negative visualization. At first, the name might sound counterintuitive. Why would we ever want to focus on something negative? But negative visualization is about mentally preparing yourself for life's inevitable challenges. It's a way of confronting potential difficulties before they happen, so that when they do, you're not caught off guard. Seneca beautifully captures the essence of this practice when he writes, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." What he means is that much of our anxiety comes not from the events themselves, but from our unpreparedness for them, or worse, our habit of catastrophizing things in our minds. Here's how negative visualization works. Take a moment to imagine that something you value has been temporarily taken away. Maybe it's your job, a relationship, or even something simple like your morning routine being interrupted. By visualizing this in a calm, deliberate way, you prepare your mind to accept the possibility of setbacks without being overwhelmed if they occur. This isn't about dwelling on worst-case scenarios or creating needless worry. It's about building mental resilience. For example, if you think about what it might feel like to be passed over for a promotion, you can approach that scenario with more grace if it does happen, not paralyzed by disappointment. And if it doesn't happen, you'll likely feel more gratitude for your current situation. Negative visualization helps you walk the fine line between preparedness and appreciation, making you less prone to emotional extremes. Another effective strategy is journaling, a practice that many Stoic philosophers, including Marcus Aurelius, relied on daily. Marcus used journaling as a tool for self-reflection and clarity, writing to himself about the challenges of the day and how best to respond to them. You can do the same at the end of each day, or even in the morning to set your intention. Try taking a few minutes to write about situations where you felt frustrated or overwhelmed. Ask yourself, was this something I could directly control, or was it outside my power? Reflecting in this way not only helps you distinguish between control and influence, but also encourages you to spot patterns in your thinking. Maybe you'll notice that certain triggers, like difficult coworkers or unexpected delays, tend to hijack your reactions. By becoming more aware of these triggers, you can actively work on responding differently. Journaling also allows you to celebrate small victories. Did you remain calm in a situation that would normally frustrate you? Did you focus on your own actions and let go of the need to control someone else's? These moments are worth recognizing because they show growth, and growth in Stoic practice is often one small, intentional step at a time. If these practices feel daunting at first, start small. Choose one situation in your life that's been consuming your energy or causing frustration. Maybe it's a disagreement with a friend, stress about a work deadline, or even something as simple as a hectic morning commute. Ask yourself, is this something I can fully control? If not, how can I focus instead on what's within my power? Perhaps it's choosing to communicate more calmly, managing your time more effectively, or simply practicing patience. Then try using one of the exercises we've just discussed, negative visualization or journaling, to reframe your perspective on that situation. By consistently integrating these practices into your daily life, you'll start to notice a shift. Stressful situations will feel less overwhelming, and you'll experience a newfound sense of clarity and control, not over the world around you, but over your own mind and actions. And that's where true empowerment lies, not in bending the world to your will, but in mastering the ability to navigate it with wisdom and grace. So, what's one situation in your life that you could approach differently using these strategies? Take a moment to reflect. Sometimes a small change in mindset is all it takes to experience a big difference in how we handle life's challenges. Epictetus once said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the view they take of them." This single sentence captures one of the most transformative teachings of Stoicism. While we cannot always change what happens to us, we can always choose how we perceive and interpret those events. The events themselves are neutral. It's our judgment of them that creates feelings like anger, frustration, or despair. This shift in perspective isn't just about finding silver linings. It's about reclaiming the power to decide how external events affect our inner world. Think about a common frustration. Let's say your boss criticizes your work. At first, you might feel offended, maybe even defensive. A voice in your head might start shouting, "They don't appreciate all the effort I've put in. This is so unfair." But is it the criticism itself that's upsetting you, or the story you're telling yourself about what it means? From a Stoic perspective, the criticism is just an event. It has no meaning until you give it one. You could choose to take it as a personal attack, which might lead to anger or self-doubt. Or you could reframe it as an opportunity to improve and grow. Maybe your boss's feedback, however harsh, contains a kernel of truth that could help you develop your skills. By shifting your perspective, you turn a potentially negative experience into a chance to learn and build resilience. Let's take another example, something even more mundane but equally relatable, being caught in the rain without an umbrella. Most of us would instinctively label this as a bad thing. You're soaked, uncomfortable, and your plans for the day might now feel ruined. But what if, instead of focusing on the inconvenience, you saw it as a moment to slow down and embrace the unpredictability of life? What if you chose to view the rain not as a nuisance but as a reminder of nature's power, or even an opportunity to shake up your routine? Sure, it's a small inconvenience in the grand scheme of things, but it's also a perfect moment to practice control over your perception. After all, the rain doesn't care whether you're upset, it's your response to it that shapes your experience. The Stoics believed that our perception is one of the greatest tools we have for navigating life's challenges. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." In other words, you always have the choice to reframe how you see a situation. This doesn't mean pretending bad things aren't bad or suppressing your emotions. It's about looking at events clearly and deciding how best to respond, rather than letting knee-jerk reactions take over. So, how can you apply this in your own life? Start by thinking about how you currently interpret setbacks or challenges. Do you label them as failures or crises? Or do you see them as opportunities to learn, grow, and strengthen your character? The next time something doesn't go as planned, a missed deadline, a tough conversation, or a delayed flight, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about this event? Is there another way to look at it that might empower me rather than frustrate me? Reflecting on this can lead to powerful insights. For example, have you ever been in a situation where something you initially saw as negative ended up being a blessing in disguise? Maybe missing out on a job opportunity pushed you toward something even better. Or a mistake you made taught you a valuable lesson that helped you in the long run. These moments remind us that what seems like a setback in the moment can often be a turning point when viewed through a wider lens. By practicing this shift in perception, you take ownership of your internal world. Life's challenges won't disappear, but their ability to disturb your peace will diminish. It's not about controlling the external, it's about mastering the way your mind interprets it. And with that, you unlock a resilience that no amount of stress or uncertainty can shake. So take a moment to think, how might your current challenges look different if you chose to reframe your perception of them? Influence without virtue is directionless. It's like sailing a ship without a compass. You might have the ability to move forward, but without clear guidance, you risk drifting off course or even causing harm along the way. The Stoics understood this well, which is why they placed such a heavy emphasis on virtue as the foundation for navigating influence. When our words and actions are rooted in virtue, our influence becomes not only purposeful but also ethical, inspiring trust and positive change in the process. The Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues as essential pillars of a virtuous life: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These virtues serve as a moral compass, guiding how we interact with the world and how we use our influence on those around us. Let's explore each virtue and see how it shapes ethical influence. First, wisdom. Wisdom is the ability to discern what is right, to understand the consequences of our actions, and to approach situations thoughtfully. It reminds us that influence isn't about blindly pushing our agenda, but about acting with insight and reason. For example, imagine you're mentoring a colleague at work. Wisdom would guide you to share advice that's not just about making them better at their job, but also about helping them grow as a person. It's about recognizing what they truly need to succeed and tailoring your guidance to support their unique path. Next is courage. Courage is the willingness to do what's right, even when it's difficult. When it comes to influence, courage often means standing up for your values or advocating for someone who doesn't have a voice. Let's say you're in a leadership role and you notice unfair treatment in your workplace. It takes courage to address it, to use your influence to fight for fairness, even if it's uncomfortable or unpopular. Courage ensures that our influence is not passive or self-serving, but active and grounded in integrity. Then there's justice. Justice is about fairness and treating others with respect and dignity. It reminds us that influence should never be about manipulation or selfish gain. It's about doing what's right by others. Think of a teacher who uses their role to inspire and uplift their students equally, offering the same opportunities regardless of background or ability. Justice ensures that our influence seeks to create harmony and benefit for others, rather than serving our own ego. Finally, temperance. Temperance is about self-control and balance. It's the ability to exercise restraint, to not overstep boundaries, and to recognize when to hold back. In the realm of influence, temperance might mean knowing when to step aside and let someone else take the lead, or resisting the urge to dominate a conversation. It's about using your influence purposefully without excess or overreach, ensuring that it aligns with the greater good. Now, let's put this together with a tangible example. Imagine you're mentoring someone at work, a newer colleague who looks up to you for guidance. Without virtue, you might unconsciously shape their journey based on your own biases or self-interest, pushing them toward decisions that serve your goals rather than their growth. But if you approach the situation through the lens of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, everything changes. Wisdom helps you understand their unique potential and guide them accordingly. Courage ensures you're honest in your feedback, even if it's hard for them to hear. Justice keeps you fair, treating them with respect and without favoritism or manipulation. And temperance reminds you to give them the space to learn and grow on their own, resisting the urge to micromanage or control. So here's a question: how do you apply virtue in your own areas of influence? Whether it's mentoring someone, raising children, or simply being a role model in your community, consider how the 4 cardinal virtues could shape your actions and decisions. Are your words and choices guided by wisdom? Do you show courage when it matters most? Are you committed to fairness and justice? And do you maintain balance with temperance? Reflecting on these virtues can transform the way you influence others, ensuring that your impact is not only effective but also deeply ethical. When we anchor our influence in virtue, we lead by example, building trust and inspiring those around us to do the same. Influence guided by virtue isn't just about achieving results, it's about fostering meaningful connections and contributing to the betterment of the people and communities we touch. And that, ultimately, is the kind of influence that lasts. When it comes to navigating modern life, the distinction between control and influence can feel more relevant than ever. Our daily lives are full of situations where this Stoic insight isn't just helpful, it's essential. Social media interactions, political debates, or even the challenges of parenting can easily pull us into trying to control the uncontrollable, leaving us overwhelmed and reactive. But what if we approach these situations with the Stoic mindset instead? How would that reframe how we act and, more importantly, how we feel? Let's start with social media. It's a space where emotions run high and opinions clash constantly. Maybe you found yourself frustrated by a friend's political post or tempted to jump into a heated comment thread to set the record straight. But here's the reality: you can't control how others think or what they choose to post. Trying to force someone to see things your way rarely works and often only creates more tension. Instead, consider this: your influence lies not in changing someone else's opinion, but in how you choose to respond. Do you engage calmly and respectfully, or do you decide it's more valuable to simply scroll on and conserve your energy? Asking yourself if the conversation aligns with your values, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance can help you decide whether it's worth your effort. Sometimes the most stoic response is silence, recognizing that your peace of mind is more valuable than winning an argument. Now, let's move to political discussions. In today's polarized climate, it's easy to feel like the weight of the world rests on your shoulders, especially when faced with issues that feel urgent and deeply important. The Stoic perspective doesn't suggest apathy or ignoring injustice. It encourages mindful action. For instance, you can't single-handedly control the outcome of an election or sway public opinion overnight. But you can influence your immediate sphere through thoughtful conversations, voting, or advocating constructively for causes you believe in. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one, rather than getting caught up in the frustration of what you can't control. Focus on embodying the change you want to see. Your actions will speak louder than arguments." Parenting is another area where the Stoic lesson of control versus influence becomes especially valuable. As a parent, you undoubtedly want the best for your children, but it's impossible to control every decision they make or every experience they encounter. For example, you can't force them to always make the right choices or prevent them from ever facing disappointment. What you can do is guide them with wisdom, model resilience, and create a home environment where they feel supported and loved. Instead of trying to shield them from every challenge, help them develop the tools to navigate those challenges on their own. That's where your influence has the greatest impact, not in controlling their path, but in preparing them to walk it with confidence and character. Practicing mindfulness is key in all these scenarios. The next time you feel yourself getting pulled into frustration or conflict, pause. Ask yourself, is this something within my control, or am I trying to force an outcome I cannot dictate? Reflect on how you can shift your focus toward your own actions and attitude. By doing this, you reclaim your energy and direct it toward what truly matters, what is within your power. Finally, consider this wisdom from Marcus Aurelius as a closing thought for this section. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. These words serve as a reminder that peace of mind isn't about fixing everything around us. It's about mastering how we respond to life's inevitable uncertainties. By applying this perspective in your everyday interactions, you not only strengthen your resilience but also inspire those around you to approach life's challenges with the same clarity and grace. So take a moment to reflect. How could you have applied this mindset in a recent frustration? And how might these tools empower you to handle future challenges with greater calm and intention? One of the most common misunderstandings about Stoicism is the belief that it promotes passivity or indifference. That practicing Stoicism means quietly resigning yourself to whatever life throws your way without taking action. On the surface, phrases like "accept what you can't control" might give the impression that Stoics advocate for inaction, a kind of shrugging off of life's trials and simply going with the flow. But this could not be further from the truth. Stoicism is anything but passive. In fact, it's one of the most action-oriented philosophies in history, grounded in the idea of engaging fully with life, just in a way that is both intentional and realistic. The key lies in balance. Stoics don't suggest that we give up on pursuing change or improving the world around us. Instead, they teach us to first understand what is within our power and what isn't. From that understanding comes clarity. We can then channel all of our energy into the areas where we can make a difference, rather than wasting time and emotional resources on battles we cannot win. This is not passivity, it's efficiency. It's about choosing where to act with purpose. Take, for instance, the Stoic philosopher Seneca. Far from being detached or indifferent, Seneca was deeply involved in Roman politics, serving as an advisor to Emperor Nero, arguably one of the most unpredictable and volatile figures in Roman history. Seneca didn't shrink away from influence or responsibility despite the challenges of working under such a leader. Instead, he used his position to advocate for fairness and wisdom to the extent that he could. He knew he couldn't change Nero's entire character or control every imperial decision, but he focused on tempering the emperor's worst instincts and guiding him with reasoned counsel. Seneca's engagement shows that Stoicism doesn't mean retreating from life's difficulties. It's about stepping into them with clear purpose, grounded in what is possible. Now, let's compare this to another school of thought that might emphasize detachment. Certain interpretations of Buddhism, for example. While Buddhism often emphasizes transcending desires and attachments to reduce suffering, Stoicism instead encourages us to engage with the world while maintaining control over our internal responses. The Stoic doesn't seek to remove themselves from the challenges of life, but rather to meet those challenges head-on, rooted in virtue, clarity, and resilience. This distinction highlights how Stoicism is a philosophy of active participation in life, not withdrawal from it. To further dispel the myth of Stoic passivity, consider how Marcus Aurelius approached his role as emperor. Here was a man who wielded immense power, yet his writings in *Meditations* reflect a commitment to action guided by reason and virtue. Marcus faced wars, plagues, and political unrest, but he did not retreat into inaction. Instead, he sought to govern responsibly, balancing his duties as a ruler with his understanding of what he could realistically influence. His decisions weren't driven by a need for control over every outcome, but by a desire to act in alignment with his values, regardless of the uncertainty surrounding him. To Marcus, Stoicism wasn't about doing nothing. It was about doing the right thing, even in the face of immense pressure. In our modern lives, this balance between acceptance and action is just as relevant. Imagine being in a work environment where decisions from upper management constantly disrupt your plans. A misunderstanding of Stoicism might suggest that you simply accept these disruptions and endure them quietly, but that's not the Stoic way. Instead, a Stoic would encourage you to focus on what you can influence: your own performance, your communication with colleagues, and how effectively you adapt to changes. You might not control the larger organizational decisions, but you can control how you contribute to making the situation better. This isn't passivity, it's proactive engagement within the bounds of your influence. So, let's pause for a moment and reflect. Have you ever dismissed an idea, task, or challenge because you believed it was out of your control, when in fact there was something meaningful you could have done to influence the situation? Or have you exhausted yourself trying to control every variable instead of honing in on where your efforts would be most impactful? Rethinking these moments through the lens of Stoicism can help you find a more balanced approach to life. Ultimately, Stoicism isn't about giving up, it's about showing up. It's about accepting the limits of control, not as a way of surrendering, but as a way of sharpening your focus on what truly matters. By letting go of what we can't change and directing our energy toward purposeful action, we not only move through life with greater peace of mind, but also with greater effectiveness. As we wrap up, let's take a moment to reflect on the powerful ideas we've explored. At the foundation of Stoicism lies the distinction between control and influence, a simple yet profound concept that has the power to transform the way we navigate life's challenges. We've learned that while we can't control the external world, whether that's the opinions of others, unforeseen events, or the outcomes of our efforts, we do have absolute control over our own thoughts, actions, and attitudes. This is where our true power lies, By embracing this mindset, we can shift our energy away from the frustration of trying to control the uncontrollable and instead focus on living with intention and purpose. As we've discussed, influence isn't about bending reality to our will. It's about acting with integrity, aligning our choices with our values, and accepting outcomes with grace. Whether it's reframing how we respond to setbacks, embodying virtues like wisdom and courage, or practicing tools like negative visualization and mindful journaling, Stoicism offers us a toolkit to face life's unpredictability with resilience. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This timeless wisdom captures the heart of what it means to live a Stoic life. It's not about eliminating challenges or emotions, but about mastering how we respond to them. When we focus on our own virtues, our sense of justice, our patience, our courage, we become unshakable no matter what chaos unfolds around us. And the benefits of applying these principles go far beyond just achieving clarity and peace. They give us a sense of purpose, enabling us to act as role models for others. When we live by example, we inspire those around us to shift their focus from what's beyond their power to what they can change. Imagine the ripple effect of a community of individuals who approach life's challenges with this kind of strength and composure. It's a vision worth striving for. So here's where I leave you with a question. What's one situation in your life right now where you could let go of control and focus instead on your response? How might this simple shift help you approach that challenge with more clarity and resilience? Whether it's a relationship, a work project, or even just an internal struggle, I encourage you to start small. Try applying one idea from this video, whether it's reflecting on the dichotomy of control, practicing gratitude for what you can influence, or focusing on embodying a particular virtue, and see how it transforms your perspective. I'd love to hear about your experiences and insights in the comments below. How do you distinguish between control and influence in your own life? What Stoic practices help you stay grounded and focused? Let's build a thoughtful conversation where we can all learn from one another. Thank you for joining me on this journey into Stoic thought. Remember, real strength doesn't come from trying to control the world. It comes from mastering yourself. As Epictetus so powerfully put it, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Until next time, take care, and may you continue to live with wisdom, courage, and purpose.